Football Tailgate Week 14 recap and reaction show. John, just a few things to talk about today. As Week 14, the regular season in the books, we have arrived to Conference Championship Week. We have also full-on, dove into the coaching carousel. We're going to start with the Lane Kiffin stuff, obviously, but first off, man, how are you? Did you enjoy Rivalry Week in your neck of the woods?
It was great. Not all the results were what I was hoping for, but betting card wise, I think we did right by our people on that weekend. So I was happy about that. Georgia didn't play a great game, but they got it done, and it was beautifully. It was done on Friday, so I could just fully enjoy the Texas game after that, and then the entirety of Saturday as well. So I thought it was a beautiful bow to be putting on the regular season. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah. 12-4 for us on the card. We will talk a little bit more about gambling and betting towards the end of the show, as we always do. I think we each have a pick that we want to put in already here on this Monday, heading into Conference Championship weekend. But first, before we get to the Lane Kiffin stuff and everything that went on with the coaching news, Sunday was just a barrage of just coaching news. It was insane. Just want to ask, hey, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you are watching, and thank you very much if you are. Even if you do think you're subscribed, check again. We are College Football Tailgate, at College Football Tailgate on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button, whatever it is on those platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25. And of course, you can follow us over on TikTok at CFB Tailgate, where we are growing. Just passed over 700 followers over there over the weekend. So hopefully, we're trying to get to 1,000 by the national championship game, John. That's our goal for the TikTok anyways. But let's get right to it. We got so much to get to. The biggest news in quite possibly the sporting world is Lane Kiffin is no longer the head coach at Ole Miss. He has bolted to LSU for 7 years. It looks like about $13 million a year for Uncle Lane. He is not going to be coaching Ole Miss in the college football playoff. Defensive coordinator Pete Golding immediately named full-time head coach at Ole Miss. Ole Miss didn't even want to see him coach one game as interim. They just immediately gave him the full head coach position. Ole Miss's athletic director, Keith Carter, is not going to let Lane coach in the college football playoff. I do not blame him. I don't blame Lane for wanting to coach, but at the same time, what do you think was going to happen if you're going to take this job from a bitter rival? I understand both sides and, how Ole Miss fans are pissed at him and how Lane takes the job and how the Ole Miss offense or athletic director won't let him coach here. I understand all of that, John. The only thing I'm not here for is Lane Kiffin trying to play the victim here. You know what you did. You took a job from a bitter rival. They're not going to let you coach. So all that kind of woe is me. I really wanted to coach. They wouldn't let me go to the team meeting. This was all coming. And he knows it too. Lane is so smart and he's so clever with these situations. But your take on this situation, for me, I do the same thing. I would bolt to LSU. I think Lane Kiffin's going to win a national championship within the next 3 seasons at LSU. But how do you feel?
Well, it was such a saga, and I think for me, I've just been kind of ruminating on my view of Lane Kiffin, and I really did think that over these last couple of years that he had, dare I say, shown some growth. I thought that, the
E60?
Yeah, right, and you're doing the hot yoga and everything like that, but I just kind of thought that maybe there's a chance in this current college football environment where you can use the transfer portal, or you can use the NIL, and Ole Miss has strong NIL. I was at a gas station in Oxford last year. The roundup, it's not for the Children's Hospital, it's for the Ole Miss collective. The whole community is dialed in on helping the football program. So he had been given everything he possibly could have wanted. But a guy like him, when he gets everything he wanted, it sort of turns him off. And so he's just kind of one of those guys. And LSU, of course, there aren't many jobs right now that are better than Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin, but LSU does still qualify as that. So I think that he made the best practical, pragmatic move for his career. But going back to the growth thing, it was very clear by the time that both Florida and LSU opened up and he immediately gets bandied about that he hadn't changed at all, that he was going to make this a saga and he was going to make this as messy as possible. The last week and a half in particular has been draining if you're a fan of any of those three teams or just someone who happens to be on Twitter and likes college football, because you've been inundated with what is Lane doing. Every fan base has gone through every single phase of grief over this time, acceptance and bargaining and everything like that. But ultimately LSU gets him, and I don't blame Ole Miss for acting out, because I think there are some people who are kind of shaming Ole Miss people for being pissed.
Right.
They're like, how could they possibly be so angry at the guy that brought them the best era of Ole Miss football? It's like, I would be furious. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy just leaves you hanging right before you're about to go to the college football playoff. That sucks. And they left you twisting in the wind. The people in Ole Miss media were right about this the whole way through. Ben Garrett using the "you can't turn a hoe into a housewife" thing, and then Lane getting mad about it while also just totally hoeing out ultimately in the end. It's just unbelievable. Just some stuff that is uniquely great about college football. The video of the Ole Miss fans, ironically or maybe just cosmically correct, at the tarmac screaming at him. There was a mom holding her baby, giving Lane Kiffin the finger. There was the picture of Lane's wardrobe just sitting out in the parking lot at the athletic facility there in Oxford. Is just the perfect college football story. And ultimately, I tweeted this out yesterday. If you watch The Sopranos or just know this one, the scorpion and the frog. That's what this is. You knew that the scorpion was going to sting the frog. You knew that Lane was going to sting Ole Miss. Ole Miss had to know that they were going to get stung ultimately. But there it is. Although I suppose in this case, the scorpion has wings and can fly off and go to Baton Rouge.
And is wearing a visor, too, on top of that. But was any part of you, like, actually surprised that he made a decision? Because, like, part of me was like, in Lane's perfect world, he kept kicking this can down the road until January, whenever Ole Miss's season ended, and it almost seemed like he was going to get away with that. That like Ole Miss wasn't going to hold his feet to the fire, LSU wasn't going to hold his feet to the fire and make him make a decision. It eventually comes, and yeah, he's leaving for LSU and all that. He's bringing quite a few of his offensive coaches with him. I guess that ultimatum thing that was surfacing on Sunday wasn't true, according to Lane. Who knows? Like, you can't believe him, for anything he says. But the majority of the offensive coaching staff is going with him down to Baton Rouge. I mean, I love this move for Ole Miss. I will say that. 55-19 in 6 seasons at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin was. Only Alabama and Georgia were SEC teams with better records than that or more wins in that span. I think Ole Miss has had the 8th most wins in the past 6 years. But Rebels fans should absolutely be pissed off that he left them the way he did, high and dry. And now it opens up this whole can of worms here with what's the committee going to do? Are they going to punish Ole Miss? Are they going to leave him alone? My feeling is, so Ole Miss last week, they went into last week, week 14 at number 7. They were the lowest of the one-loss teams. I think they're going to stay right there at 7. I mean, maybe you can, I don't see, they're not going to jump Oklahoma ahead of them. I don't think they'll jump. Now, if Alabama wins the SEC, that could play into this. But right now, if things are to hold serve and the chalk is to play out over championship week, I think Ole Miss stays right there at 7. They should have a home playoff game in Oxford with Pete Golding as their head coach in a few weeks.
Yeah, they can. The committee can want to ding Ole Miss, but when they've already beaten Oklahoma head to head, there's not that much that they can do, and I don't think that they can give them the FSU treatment and just knock them out of the playoff because also we're missing a data point. Also, not to justify or relitigate that what happened in the 2023 season with Florida State, but they did come out with Chuba Purdy or whoever it was in the ACC championship game, and the team looked totally different. They weren't going. It wasn't going to be an entertaining product in the 4-teamer if Florida State was going to make it. I'm not trying to put strays at FSU or anything, I swear, but I'm just trying to draw some semblance of a historical parallel to a gigantic, colossal, seismic shake-up for a team in their playoff hopes and aspirations and potential at the very end of the season. We won't know what Ole Miss looks like without Lane Kiffin and with Pete Golding as the head coach until we get to the college football playoff. But I think an 11-1 Ole Miss team, barring like a giant barrage of transfers, which I don't believe can happen. I think they've stratified it to a window. There's some guys that I'm sure are planning. I'm sure that there's some handshake deals already done with some guys probably going to LSU. Side point, I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Kewan Lacey, because didn't he already transfer once? Do you get unlimited transfers now, or do you still have to sit if you transfer a second time? Because I believe he started at Missouri.
I think you only get unlimited once you reach grad status.
Okay, so
I don't know his year off the top of my head. I don't think he's a senior though.
No, he's like 19 years old. I think he's a true sophomore. So, yeah, if he wants to jump ship, he'd probably have to wait a year in order to do that. So we'll see what happens there. I saw some reports this morning that he was eyeing the portal in light of Lane leaving. So. All of that being said, yeah, I don't think that Ole Miss gets dropped in any significant way. I still view them as a team that will have a home playoff game. We already have sportsbook lines for Ole Miss LSU next year. They are permanent rivals against each other under the pod structure in the SEC now. So I am looking forward to that. That is going to be glorious. And last thing, one more shot at Lane while I'm at it. Juice Kiffin, not even his own dog.
Allegedly. Yeah, I don't even like half this stuff, John. I don't even know what to believe anymore with half this stuff that's coming out. Like I saw that tweet that Juice isn't his dog, like he has a handler and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but that would be something if that's not even his dog on top of it.
It's kind of like, oh, now the dog tweets seem kind of effed up, you know? Like
does he become Pete Golding's dog? Is that how that works? Is he now Juice Golding? Like, what do we do with this?
Yeah, it's sort of an ornamental figure in the Oxford community. Like the dog is loosely or strongly affiliated with with the standing head coach. But if the coach changes, then it just remains ornamental to the head coach itself at Ole Miss. So funny, interesting stuff there. I mean, this was it is hilarious. Again, just I feel duped. I feel stupid for thinking that Lane had changed his spots a little bit here over his time, and he just didn't, and he went out in spectacular fashion. Someone did a power ranking of Lane Kiffin's exits from places, and this only ranked like third on them, but right. I mean, it's hard to beat the tarmac one, and I had forgotten about the Raiders one where Al Davis had a slideshow, not even on like a PowerPoint, but like just like with a slide projector, telling Lane why he stinks.
Yeah, I started going down that rabbit hole. I forgot about all that Raider stuff. Like, that's just so long ago, but it did happen like 20 years ago. And, oh my God, just that is a total rabbit hole to go down with the Jamarcus Russell stuff and the defense and then Lane bolting and the Tennessee stuff and all that. LSU is at Tennessee next year as well, I saw. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to be must-watch, and I'm sure that offense will be a lot better than they were this season. Charlie Weiss Jr. is going with Lane down to LSU. I'm assuming he'll probably be the offensive coordinator. Lane will probably call plays, and it sounds like as of Monday morning here, as we're recording this, Blake Baker is going to stay on as the defensive coordinator too. So a nice coaching staff for Lane, and like I said, I think he's perfect for LSU. I think it's going to work out for him, and I think LSU will be back to winning a national title within the next 3 years.
I think so too, but by that same token, I'm not going to delude myself into thinking that we've already established what we said about Lane Kiffin. When it comes to LSU, the second things go sour, they go sour fast. Ed Orgeron, the son of Louisiana, the man who gave LSU not only a national championship, but one of the most memorably great teams in college football history in 2019. By 22, he was out. By the end of the 2021 season, he was gone. So careful what you wish for. Like I think that the highs can be as high as you could possibly imagine at LSU. I think Lane Kiffin, everything suggests that he's going to do a great job there. But I think everything that we know about both sides of this, about Lane Kiffin and about LSU itself, we're going to have a giant calamity about this in like 5 years too.
I'm sure. Probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's just how it tends to work with Uncle Lane wherever he is. But
he will not go peacefully into the good night, and he's young enough to where like I think we have like 2-3 more sagas coming before he is officially done.
We absolutely could. He's only 51, so a long, I would say, shelf life left for Lane Kiffin coaching in college football. So we kind of started talking about what's the committee going to do when it comes to Ole Miss. Well, what's the committee going to do here Tuesday night, John, when it comes to like everything else? Because, well, the chalk pretty much held over rivalry week. Everybody in the top 14 besides Texas A&M won over the weekend. And A&M, they're not going to drop out of the playoff. Despite that loss to Texas, they're 11-1. They'll probably be right in that 6-7 range there for A&M. But I'm sitting here on this Monday, December 1st, and I'm looking at this committee and what they're going to do and how and what they should do and who deserves to be in the playoff and all that kind of stuff. And I have this horrible feeling in my gut, as I said and have been saying for a month now, Notre Dame's going to get bumped. Like, I think that's coming. Not by any fault of what the Irish have done over the last few weeks, more so of what they did week 1 and week 2 during this season, and that there's just too many teams here, and that I think Notre Dame's going to be one of the odd teams out because Miami should be in the playoff. I think Miami absolutely should be in the playoff. What they've done, how they've rebounded the past couple of weeks since that SMU loss. It would be nice if the ACC could take Nicole Auerbach's suggestion and just completely rewrite their conference championship rules and put Miami in over Duke, because the fact that we're living in a world where a 7-5 Duke team could still make the playoff in the next 6 days is bananas. The fact that we're living in a world where we could have 2 G5 teams in the playoffs is ludicrous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And if next Monday, John, a week from now, we're sitting here and there are 2 group of 5 teams and Miami and Notre Dame are like left out and BYU's left out or something like that, or any of that combination, Vanderbilt and so on, what are we even doing here? Like, the committee's got a lot to, like, I believe they're going to reset things after this season anyway, but they got to change some of this criteria here. I don't care about the G5 at all. Like, I don't think they should have a seat at the table, like a guaranteed seat. If you have a team that's incredible and they're 12-0, 13-0 or whatever, and they've actually played some legit opponents, sure, they can be in. But I don't think an automatic berth is necessary for the G5 anymore in the sake of fairness and all that. But just a little bit of a sign here to things to come. As you can tell, I'm very worked up about this because I think it's coming. Notre Dame right now, they're like minus 400 on DraftKings to make the playoffs. They're plus 300 to miss the playoff right now. I'm almost thinking about putting some money on them to miss just to ease my pain a little bit that I think is coming in the next 6 days.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to extrapolate a little bit. What happens in order for Notre Dame to get left out? Like, what are the levers that are going to be pulled this weekend that influence that? Because I think them keeping them at 9 this whole time has been a statement that this committee believes in Notre Dame. But again, you know, the disaster situation has kind of happened for you where Miami gets to 10-2, and now you're going to be compared side by side, and with obviously the tiebreaker.
That's step one, right? We've heard the committee chair, whether it's Juracek or whoever, talk about how they haven't had Miami and Notre Dame in the same tier of teams, so they're not comparing them, but that Miami could jump into that tier, and then they'll start comparing them. I think Miami has jumped into that tier, and now they're going to compare them, and that's where head-to-head's going to come in, so I think Miami's going to jump above them, and then you're going to have the ACC champion, whether it's Virginia, get in automatically. Or if Duke somehow wins, you either have Duke in the freaking playoff, which is just so stupid, or you're going to have a second G5 team get in there too. And that's going to squeeze Miami out or squeeze Notre Dame out. And then what if, let's say, BYU knocks off Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game and they avenge that loss and get their revenge, they're automatically in. So there's so many like little levels here that just like things do have to break a certain way for this to happen, but I can see it happening really easily. And I'm curious what you think about this, because I do think there's a couple of other levers that the committee could pull here. Number one, what if they decide to take a deeper look at this Oklahoma team and just how bad this offense is? That offense is not playoff worthy. Like, I'm sorry. The offense is brutal, and we'll see if they knock them at all. Because like against LSU over the weekend, like it's been a month now of this. It's comical how bad they are trying to play offense. And two, the committee has kind of flirted out that idea that just because you make a conference championship game, you're not going to get docked. Alabama's kind of limping into the finish line here. What if Georgia waxes them? And like, I know it's never happened. I can see the smile on your face that you're loving the idea, but like, what if this Bama team that has showed some serious warts over the past 3 weeks goes to Atlanta on Saturday and they lose 35-13 to Georgia? Like, then do they get knocked? And I know that's going to open up a whole can of worms of like, you just knocked out the SEC runner-up. Like, why are we even playing these games? And I know that's going to open up that entire conversation. But those are just other things in the back of my head here that I'm kicking around. Like, how can Notre Dame save itself without being able to do anything on the football field?
Well, we've seen the committee. I mean, this goes back to like the 4 teams, so it's different, of course. But 12-0 Georgia, 2013 penalized for playing in the SEC championship game because they lost to Alabama. Alabama gets the last spot, and I'm still mad about that, to be fully honest with you. But if that scenario happens, then Alabama takes that extra loss. I'm just saying that if Alabama fans, if that does happen and they do get left out and they get mad about getting penalized for playing in the conference championship game, it's like, it's happened before, man. Like, I don't know why you're surprised, like why your head is so far in the sand to think that a very public, visible loss with big stakes behind it wouldn't affect where you are. Now, I do wonder also when it comes to BYU, do you think BYU is safe regardless, or do they have to keep it within, a respectable range against Texas Tech in order for them to be for sure in? Because 11-1 with their only loss being Texas Tech objectively is a great resume, and they're playing in the Big 12 championship game. Would the committee biff BYU, you think?
Well, I think BYU right now is on the outside looking in. I think they're in a win-and-in situation here. I think if they lose again, I think they're out. I think it's just kind of it is tough. But you also look at like everybody ahead of BYU has won again. So now, like all of a sudden, just because they won over the weekend, won their final game there, and took care of UCF in a game that they were down 14-0. By the way,
that was weird.
A little bit of a situation was brewing there in Provo. They did right the ship ultimately. I don't think BYU is any guarantee to get in. Vandy, I think, even though they had a great weekend, great win against Tennessee, I don't think they're in. I also wonder if the way Vandy beat Tennessee and how they just took it to them, I wonder if that plays into the Oklahoma situation too, where Oklahoma needs a few turnovers to break their way and squeaks out a close win in Knoxville, where Vanderbilt goes in there and beat them by 3 touchdowns over the weekend?
Yeah, they kicked their butts.
That's an interesting thing here, too. I'm really curious to see what this committee is going to do Tuesday night because, well, for the most part, after Tuesday, there's not much more jockeying that you're going to be able to do with the exception of just some maybe little seeding things with how some conference championship game plays out. But obviously for BYU, they do need to win, I think, to get in to this playoff. But how do you feel about the Cougars? Do you think they're in right now?
I want to say yes. But
who do you have them jumping? They're at 13.
Oh man! All right, so I'm caught up. I must be looking at the wrong thing here. I see them at 11.
So are you counting the G5 and Virginia?
Okay, I guess I'm not. Or 12. 12 is Miami right now. I guess we're counting them. Yeah, so they would be 13. I guess once you factor in the conference champ. Sorry, I look like a bozo on my.
No, it's all good. Podcast. I had the ranking wrong too. They're you are right. They are 11. But we got to make sure we got to put in the G5 team, which is so stupid. I think have I convinced you that the G5 should no longer get their seat?
It's like, I don't know. It's complicated because, like, where do you draw the line? Like, where do you set the precedent? Like, do you have to have a year that clocks the same way that Boise State's did last year in order to be deserving, or Cincinnati a couple of years ago? Like, is that like the level that they have to reach? Like. But by the same token, like when it's kind of an uninspired crop of G5 teams like this year, it's like, do we really need to have them in? Like I definitely understand that. So I think that there should be the possibility, but I think it should be earned. But then there's also like the unfortunate truth when it comes to considering these sort of outside the box options, where it's like you kind of need to have a preamble the season before where you're really good, so you're on the radar coming into the year. Like the way that like UCF in 2017, like if they had a year like 2018 leading into that year, they'd probably get into the college football playoff as undefeateds. But because it was sort of out of nowhere, they were ultimately left out that season. So the G5 stuff is always complicated. I don't want to like give full disrespect, but also like we have to have some sort of like, there shouldn't be a game in the college football playoff where that there's just going to be like a 25-point spread. Like that doesn't feel like it. You're putting the 12 best teams in.
Yeah, no, it really just brings that question of just like, what are we doing here? Like, why do we have to go through this song and dance just to appease the G5 and so they have a seat at the table? I mean, I've always liked the idea of a separate G5 playoff because I think when you look at it, and I think most rational people, when they look at it, you're playing two different levels of football when it comes to the G5 and the Power Four. Like, I don't know. I'd rather see like Tulane, North Texas, James Madison, those teams all go to their own, Navy. Those teams go to a separate playoff and give us something else to watch too, and finagle it around the college football playoff, almost like the NIT and college basketball, that kind of thing. Two completely different sports and so on. But I'm just like, because I see like I just see this scenario now where the 5 seed and the 6 seed are going to get just pretty much total layups at home and tune-up games where it's just like, why are we like doing this charade? Like, what is this charade that we're doing here when it comes to, it's probably going to be like Texas Tech is going to get to play Tulane or North Texas, and then you're going to get whoever the 6th, Oregon, is going to have freaking Duke going up to the Pacific Northwest so they can just wax them by 40 points. I don't know. So it's broken and they need to fix it. That's all I know. Someone smarter than me needs to get in there and fix it.
Some on-air producing. We got to clip that. I don't think that we've engaged much with the G5 Hive this year, but I think we're going to need to see if we can rattle some cages out there.
Why not?
From the clip.
Mine as well. I'll put that on there for sure. So we're obviously going to have a lot more to talk about when it comes to this committee. Next week, we will break down and react to the college football playoff and all that kind of stuff and the bracket being announced. That's next week. Thursday, guys, we will preview conference championship weekend. But this is our week 14 recap and reaction show, John. So we've talked about a whole lot of stuff that is happening off the field. Let's talk about what happened on the field this weekend because, well, a team from Columbus, Ohio, finally vanquished and slayed that dragon of the team up north, which is always the funny. That phrase always cracks me up. Whenever that team up north, the team up north,
Cornball City.
Right?
I don't know.
Like how we won't refer to them as Michigan, but anyways, Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Final score, I think, a little misleading, John, because I'm not sure if you tuned into this right away. But like if you were watching that for the first like 5-10 minutes of this game, it just had that feeling like, oh my God, here we go again. Michigan gets the opening kickoff. They drive right down the field, running the football, break off a couple big runs. Now Ohio State holds them to a field goal, but it's 3-0. Buckeyes get the ball. Julian Sayin, first pass, intercepted, and you're going, oh my God, like this is really going to happen again. But then all of a sudden it's like Ohio State had this like come to Jesus moment where they looked around and they looked at all the 5-star dudes that they have on their sideline, and they looked at their quarterback who's going to be a Heisman finalist, and they were just like, we are the much better team here. Let's play like it. And then they played like it, and they opened this thing up. They hit some big shot plays. The 35-yard touchdown pass that stood for Jeremiah Smith, and the 50-yarder to Carnell Tate, hitting those big plays like we kind of talked about last week. And then you look at the time of possession here, John, 40-20 when it comes to that. Bo Jackson, incredible, 22 carries, 117 yards, adds 4 catches and 49 yards. I thought after that first drive, Sayin was tremendous in this game. If you take away like the first 10 minutes of this game, he was 17 of 22. He was excellent. It just like Michigan never had that other gear with their offense that they could click into, and this Ohio State defense is incredible. I heard this stat be mentioned this week that Ohio State is the first team since 1975 Florida to go through a 12-game schedule and not allow more than 17 points in a game.
Yeah,
tremendous.
You're just not going to beat Ohio State with field goals, and it felt like that was all that Michigan was going to be able to muster. I think that it was a huge missed opportunity to not score a touchdown off the interception. I thought they marked him back kind of far. I didn't think he went out of bounds. Like I thought that they could have given him some more yards on that return, set them up in slightly better field goal or field position. I wonder a little bit, because the levee broke. I think once you had that big deep shot to, I believe, Carnell Tate for that first Ohio State touchdown, where it's like, okay, this is going to be a big hill for Michigan to climb. But I do also wonder if Marshall's able to be healthy for that full game. If Michigan's able to, if they're going to do that game plan where they're trying to like kind of hide Bryce Underwood a little bit, you need an effective run game. Marshall looked like he was going to be able to provide that, but the shoulder just couldn't, quite hold up over the course of the game. So they had to turn to like the walk-on guy that they kept hyping up. That was not it. And yeah, I mean, like obviously like Ohio State is just the far better team, played the much better game, just kind of bullied Michigan around. They drew Michigan, or they drew Script Ohio on the field in the snow, and like there were some like grad assistants that had to like go run on the field in between commercials to like wipe it out because they're so embarrassed. Like very, very funny stuff. But 99.9% post-game win expectancy for Ohio State. I think that marries up pretty nicely with what we saw over the course of the game. So I think for Ohio State, there's not a whole lot left on your bingo card. And you got that one. You got that one in pretty emphatic fashion. You got to feel great if you're Ohio State to not only beat Michigan, but do so in truly like pretty thorough, dominant fashion. Where there's been other times during this run for Michigan where maybe the post-game win looks a little different. Maybe it's a little bit more 50-50, or maybe Michigan's on the other side of the 50, but they still found a way to win. Ryan Day seems to be over whatever kind of neurotic nonsense that was getting to him these last couple of years, and Ohio State just seems like the singularly focused death machine, which is great for them. I think it's unfortunate for everybody else, but hey, them's the breaks. Yeah,
and then you look at Michigan's second half drive chart. They touched the ball just 4 times in the second half. Punt, 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 turnover on downs. I want to apologize to Matt Patricia. I doubted him big time. I did not like the hire for Ohio State. I thought Patricia was kind of over the hill and washed, but he is an elite defensive coordinator. I don't know if we'll ever see him as a head coach again, but he has been absolutely tremendous with, yes, the incredible talent that he has to work with. But they just did something no other team has done in 50 years, and that's go through 12 games while allowing 17 or less points in every single game. And like you look at this, John, how it sizes up. Like if I was to ask you right now, Ohio State or the field, you got Ohio State at plus 160 to win the national championship. I don't know who is tripping them up right now. I mean, we'll see what this Indiana game looks like, but they'll still be alive and be able to recover from it because they're not getting dropped out of the playoff. At worst, they're going to be the 3 seed with a bye, I think, right. If they lose the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, so I think you wish the odds were better. But,
right.
I think Ohio State makes sense in that particular market down to like minus 200. Like I really don't see a way in which they don't win it all this year.
It's certainly looking that way and shaping up that way. But we have a lot of football left to go. Ohio State has a lot of games left to go here before they can potentially win back-to-back, be the first team since Georgia a few years ago to do that. Let's head to the SEC, the Iron Bowl. Alabama 27, Auburn 20. Bama was up 17-0 in this game. Auburn comes roaring back here. They end up tying this game, and then unfortunately they just could not finish the job. I saw someone sum this up in some article. I think it was an Auburn writer or podcast that just said Auburn has no clutch, and I thought that was just absolutely perfect because how many times Auburn put the ball on the ground, the fact that they only turned it over like twice in this game is kind of impressive, to be honest with you. But John, like going into this, if I was to tell you just like, I'll just put Team X and Team Y here, 27-20 the final. One of these teams had over 400 yards of offense, held the other to under 300. One of these teams, that same team that had over 400 yards of offense and held that opponent to under 300, also held that opponent to 4 of 17 on third down. But that team did not win this football game. And that's what happened to Auburn on Saturday night. Jordan Hare at night. I mean, that final Alabama touchdown drive, like Bama gets bailed out a couple times by the refs.
Oh, you don't say.
To just absolutely, not just bailed out by the refs, but bailed out by pure stupidity from the Auburn defensive backs. Like, I don't know what they were doing. You had the PI and then the roughing the passer call. They're going to call those every single time. And then I will give credit to Kalen DeBoer. Ballsy decision, putting his nuts on the table with that fourth down. Because I would have kicked if I was him to go up 23-20. Very impressive there. I mean, if they don't convert that and don't get that touchdown there, Kalen DeBoer might not have a job today.
Yeah, he might already have his house in Happy Valley set up or something. But okay, maybe this is crazy. Maybe I'm just I gotta chill. But did it really look like it was DeBoer's decision, or were they just really out of sorts and Ty Simpson just kind of bailed them out of what could have been, a delay of game because the clock's running down. I think it was snapped with 2 seconds left. They could have done a bunch of stuff to I always think it's a bold move for the road team to try to draw the other team off sides, but could they have been trying to do that? Could that have been the plan? But ultimately, they snapped the ball, and it's honestly, I felt like Auburn's defense looked a little bit surprised. Isaiah Horton gets to his spot, beats the guy, touchdown Alabama. That ends up being the backbreaker. But Auburn did do a lot of shooting itself in the foot. It was funny, the targeting call where they even had the officiating guy come in, and he's like, "Oh no, it's a lot of chest on that one." They were like, "Nope, targeting." Maybe super targeting for Auburn. This man needs to be thrown out of the state type of thing. So I'm just mad about that game. Auburn always lets me down as a Georgia guy. I mean, the Milroe play a couple years ago, I'm still sore about that, of course. And this week, Auburn had a 55.5% post-game win expectancy, and they still not only lost, they didn't even cover.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you can say there. I don't know. I was getting sick of just seeing the sideline shots of DJ Durkin, too, in this game. I don't know. Every time they popped his face up in the fourth quarter, I was, starting to get, angry, sitting on my couch for some reason. Something just Cam Coleman not hanging on to the football there was really unfortunate. I mean, Daniels played really well. I thought Daniels played pretty well in this game. He made some questionable decisions, I thought, too, but I mean, Auburn couldn't run the football on Bama at all. This Alabama team, though, my takeaway is it feels like you ever see the wagon where that one wheel is barely hanging on, and it's or the shopping cart where the one wheel just won't quite turn, like it's at the end of its life. I feel like Alabama's at the end here with this season. Things just, it feels like this team is falling apart. Their downfield passing game has completely dropped off. Ryan Williams, where have you been? Ty Simpson has not put together a good game in a month, I feel like. The defense, you can be thrown on this season. Jam Miller, hurt. He's crutching his way off the field. Alabama, we know, can't really run the ball. This is all setting up for you to have this big therapeutic exhale that you haven't had in 3 or 4 years coming Saturday. And I'm staring at this line. I've been staring at it 1.5, 2.5. I'm any other team, I'd hammer Georgia. Yeah. I would absolutely hammer Georgia in this situation. But something about that script A, I just can't quite pull the trigger when it comes to this game this weekend. And we'll break that down in full on Thursday. But just curious your thoughts for about 5 days out here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on some of this in the cope, but Bulldog Nation is very, very worried about Saturday. Bulldog Nation is extremely peeved with the Aggies. They could have just, been chilling this week with an 11-1 record and be getting ready for the playoff. But no, they have to play the boogeyman. They have to play the team that always beats them. So I think Bama money line probably is a smart bet in that one.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, we might as well just throw this in here. Georgia only beats Georgia Tech by a touchdown. 16-9.
I know, it comes down to the very end too.
Cause for concern, because we were talking about how stock was going way up, and it feels like that's kind of leveled off, if not dipped, after this game last Friday. Rivalry game, I get that. The Battle of Atlanta, the Atlanta Gridiron Classic, whatever we're calling this now, that we're trying to corporate sponsor this game between Georgia and Georgia Tech. But do you just chalk this up to, rivalry game, or are you more concerned that Georgia can only muster 16 points against a defense that had allowed 124 in their prior 3 games?
Right. So, I mean, it was obviously a really disappointing performance from the offense. I thought Stockton looked really out of sorts for a lot of that game. I didn't think that Mike Bobo called a particularly good game. And then the big sort of like lingering issue for this team, again, now that they only have 1 week to get ready for this game, as opposed to having close to a month off, Drew Bobo, the center, who's actually made everyone eat their words almost as much as his father has for how well he's played at center this year. He's done for the year with the lower leg injury. So Georgia's going to have to find a guy that can snap the ball this coming weekend too. So I mean that's always a little bit iffy. I mean he played the game I think against Auburn or Texas with like one of his fingers like basically just like hanging off the, the side of his hand. So it's a little bit inside baseball, but it is a concern for Georgia people. But ugly game. You don't feel great about what happened on Friday, but except getting the win ultimately at the end. But I'm not going to like try to spin zone anything that happened on Friday and as a positive for Georgia necessarily. I understand people maybe wanting to bump the stock down just a little bit. I get that.
Fair enough, and we will preview that Bama-Georgia Showdown SEC Championship in full on Thursday. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel at College Football Tailgate so you don't miss that one. All right, moving along, let's talk about Texas A&M, who you just mentioned there. The Aggies suffer their first loss of the season going over to Austin. Texas 27, A&M 17. We kind of talked about how Texas A&M had been playing with fire down the stretch here, John, especially in some of these road games too. It was just like that game to me, just like they finally got burnt.
Yep.
Like they finally got burned after just playing with fire so long. Marcel Reed, a couple of really costly bad interceptions in the fourth quarter. Mario Craver, where's he been for the last like month or so? I know there's been an injury there, but like if you go through Mario Craver's season, like he has dropped off big time since the month of September. I think they desperately missed that aspect. Wisner, excellent game for Texas on the ground. To see A&M get run on like that was a little surprising. And I'm like kind of curious, like, will A&M rebound from this, or could they potentially be a one and done in the playoff now if like the tape is out on them? You can expose this team if you have the proper talent to do so.
I think it's hasty to call A&M fraudulent, but I think, obviously based on my bet last week that I like Texas to win that game, that I did feel like it was probably a bit much to say that A&M was the number 3 team in the country overall.
How about
like
vulnerable? Is vulnerable the better word?
I think so, because like we outlined last week, like there were 3-4 one-score games that A&M had been able to escape with the victory. They just didn't look infallible. And, like the South Carolina game, I think probably should have clued us in a little bit, because South Carolina, they suck. And they went into Kyle Field and, like, just took it to the Aggies in the first half of that game. Texas's first 100-yard rusher of the season was in this game. So Texas A&M is the defense that did that. I wonder if there's a little bit of like mental stuff, big brother stuff when it comes to A&M and Texas, of course, even though there was like a long pause in that rivalry. Texas has obviously won their first 2 meetings since they've both been in the SEC. But, I think A&M is a good, not great team. I think that they will probably win their first game. I would imagine that they will be underdogs in their second game. However, I think that there's just a little bit too much that needs to be tightened up at this point of the season for A&M to be a real title contender. I don't mean to like discount their whole season or again call them frauds or anything like that. I feel like fraud watch and stuff like it can be a little bit overplayed, and I think it's overfitted to when you're saying that Texas A&M is a fraud with an 11-1 season the way that they've had it. But I don't view them as a legit title contender. I think they'll be scary next year. I trust Elko to kind of fix some of the stuff, but again, we're a bit late in the game to change your spots. I think if you're the Aggies, and I think that Friday was a bit of a microscope, a bit of a spotlight on some of those areas where Texas A&M can be exploited.
Yeah, it's just I think the question is whoever they're matched up against, can that team take advantage of it like the way Texas did here? I do think that loss, though, probably cost them a bye.
Yeah.
Because you think, obviously, Ohio State and Indiana are going to have 2 of those spots locked up. Georgia takes care of business. I think they have one of the spots there. And then I think if Texas Tech puts a thorough beatdown on BYU like they did a few weeks ago, and they do that again, I think Texas Tech will jump up into that 4 spot if the committee doesn't already have them there going into Championship Saturday anyway.
So There's a lot of moving parts to answer
Right.
this question, but if Alabama beats Georgia, do they get a bye?
That's going to be fascinating. Do you put a two-loss Bama that is the SEC championship up ahead of
Oregon,
like Oregon, Texas Tech, A&M, who they didn't play, Ole Miss as well? Like, it's going to be really interesting. And I mean, I'm sure the committee is hoping that Georgia just takes care of business because they already have so much on their plate. Yeah. The last thing that they want is to now have to deal with this Alabama. Where do we put them in the upper echelon of these teams here too? So really week. There's just so much drama. I mean, we got to talk about a few more of these games here. I know we're starting to run a little late here for us. We're over the 45-minute mark here, but I do want to hit on a couple more of these games. Oklahoma 17, LSU 13. LSU, you had one job. You had one job. Don't get beat deep. Don't get beat deep. And they got beat deep on that one shot play to Satangna. In Oklahoma, they're still standing at 10-2. Somehow that offense. I'm just so sick of watching them. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm sick and tired of watching this team try to play offense. It hurts my eyes.
So, we had the clip last week calling Oklahoma just crimson and white, or crimson and cream Iowa. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of misreading of the text on that one. Like, your point was good defense, good special teams, an offense that makes you want to jab your eyes out. And that's what we were saying. Yeah. And that still rings true. And I clapped back at someone in the comments. Is like, Iowa would definitely be tied 3-3 with LSU in the third quarter. So yeah, you can't run all you want, but the truth will find you. And Oklahoma's insulated now because they have the win over Alabama, so they're going to get into the college football playoff and probably get a home game, or at worst go on the road against the number 8 team. But yeah, they're not that good. They're just, the offense is so rickety. I'm mad at LSU because Satangna is the only guy that does anything on that offense, and he's the one guy that you can't let beat you.
And they just did, like, the safety curled over to the other side. You have the corner and the linebacker just deciding to play zone there, and then he's just wide open, and Mateer can still make that throw. Mateer throws for over 300 yards for, like, the first time, I don't know, ever, basically. But he still had 3 picks. He did not look all that great. He had some bad interceptions in this game too. Yep. So, like, I don't know. If I'm a Sooner fan, like, yeah, laugh it up. Like, you're going to the playoff, most likely. But, like, reckoning is coming for you, and it's going to be ugly because eventually you're going to play an offense that has a pulse and a clue here down the stretch.
So it may not be as bad if they're able to get, because, like, Ohio State was, like, the greatest 8 seed that you possibly could have had last year, but on a scale of 1 to the Tennessee at Ohio State game, like, how bad do you think it will be for Oklahoma when that time comes for them?
It's probably going to depend on the matchup. I mean, because, like, could they go, like, if it's 8-9 and they play Ole Miss again, right? Like, and they go to Oxford, like, is Ole Miss with a completely new offensive coaching staff going to be able to handle that? I don't know. Like, that might be a game where Oklahoma can clamp down and hang around there, even though I do think Chambliss is a gigantic problem for them. So it's going to depend on the matchup. If I could take the cop out and just say I'll give you an answer next week, once I know who they're playing. But, like, I'm just trying to think, like, if they play, I don't know, they could end up playing Alabama again, and, like, that game will be in Norman this time. And DeBoer has crapped his pants against Oklahoma here back-to-back years, so it's going to depend on the draw and how the bracket shakes out. But eventually, I do think the reckoning's coming, and it's going to be ugly.
Yep, that's the main point that I wanted to make there. But yep, OU, congrats, you're in the playoff. But I'm not going to enjoy watching you.
So Miami took care of business. They went up. They won a game in 34 degrees or whatever it was. Miami scored more than the temperature, 38-7, the final. Impressive. Miami definitely trying to send a statement to the committee, leaving their starters out there late in this game. On that, like, they're up 4 touchdowns, and Carson Beck and Malachi Toney, who is just absolutely incredible. Like, becoming, like, my favorite player to watch in college football. They have him potentially on both sides of the ball. Ruben Bain's my favorite defensive player, and Malachi Toney might be my favorite offensive player now, too.
The irony of that for an Irish guy.
It is. It's truly ironic. A lot of irony going around in college football these days, including right here on this show. But, like, I don't know. That was impressive by Miami. I wish somehow they could just tear up the rules and put them in the ACC championship game so we don't have to watch Duke. But I don't know. I think the Hurricanes have done enough to punch their ticket. It's just how does the committee want to handle this over the next couple days?
Yep, they're. I'm sure the committee is already meeting about how they're gonna do this when it comes to Miami, because a couple teams, made strong closing statements this weekend. I think you look at Miami. I think you look at Texas Tech. Not that like they were ever like really on the bubble or anything, but it's like for a team that has done what Texas Tech has done, they get no pub whatsoever. Like they just ruin everyone that they go up against. It's unbelievable. I'm like wondering if they can actually kind of like at least make it to the semifinal type of thing. And who else made strong closing statements?
I mean, Notre Dame wins by 29 points, but that was expected. They actually didn't cover. They were 32.5-point favorites. Stanford kind of hung around really late in that game to get that cover, but the Irish, I thought, were all right. SMU totally dropped the ball out there to Cal. That game was insane down the stretch there. JKS was awesome.
Vandy and Texas are my other two. That just sort of like they put their best foot forward with their last opportunity, if nothing else, with those schools.
And then the Oregon game, I didn't watch much of because obviously there was a lot. The Oklahoma game was going on at the same time, and I was glued to that one. Oregon takes care of business up there in Washington, so that no surprise there. BYU, we already mentioned, they started off down 14 points at the end of the first quarter, but they end up winning that game by 20. And yeah, Diego Pavia, legacy game. He was incredible. He should absolutely be in New York next week.
Yeah, he's got to be. I think he's third in the odds right now. He put together the best possible season that he could have. I think he's still like a couple cuts below. Like Saturday will be for the Heisman, I think, but in the Indiana-Ohio State game for St. Mendoza. But Pavia's what a ledge, what an absolute legend of a college career that guy had, going all the way back to New Mexico State. What a G.
It was awesome. Vandy, first 10-win season in school history. Good for them.
They're about to flip Georgia's quarterback too. So
are they really?
Oh yeah. So Jared Curtis is going to be a Commodore, but that's okay.
Clark Lee signs the massive extension too, so things are looking pretty good in Nashville right now for Vanderbilt.
Who would have thought that a rich school could do well in this new era? Unbelievable.
It's truly remarkable. All right, Monday Colt, Monday Smoke. John, what do you got for us?
Texas. See, we are good. We should be in the playoff. We're hearing that. We're hearing that. Like, there were some national media just doing.
Sark was doing it last week before the game
and after the game, famously. So I mean, they're laying it on thick. Don't listen to them, folks. Just don't. But because otherwise Texas will tell you that they are one of the best teams in the country and should absolutely be in the college football playoff, despite again losing to Florida. Georgia is coping because, again, we did not look good on Friday. And nightmare scenario, Georgia does not want the smoke. Georgia does not want the Alabama smoke. I think September 27th was proof positive of that. Alabama had lost to Florida State by 2 touchdowns a few weeks prior. Georgia had beaten Tennessee in an amazing, epic fashion this game at home at night, and they crapped their pants. I fear something similar. We'll get our numbers guys doing the work on this, but I'm not sure if Alabama's lost in Atlanta. It's certainly not any time in recent memory since the beginning of the Saban era. So, it's gonna be tough for the Dogs. This is it's champagne problems, but I do think that the Georgia fans are actually coping. And then Florida, my God, man, like. They were. Am I allowed to say cuck on TikTok? Because they've been sitting in the cuck chair for this whole Lane saga for the last month plus. They thought that firing old Sunbelt Billy before LSU had the chance to fire Brian Kelly would give them the leg up in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. The entirety of their fan base just doing everything that they can to say that it's a done deal and that Florida's the best job and it's going to be proven by Lane Kiffin's decision. A little reality check, I think, for Florida now. Summerall, I'm sure it's a fine enough hire, whatever. But
I actually like that hire a lot, but Please continue.
But it's like, I think the esteem with which Florida holds itself versus what the reality is right now is very akin to like that meme of Homer Simpson flexing in the mirror, and he's got a six-pack and huge pecs, but he's actually just Homer Simpson with the giant love handles and flabby nonsense. So that's kind of Florida, and they are tough for them. Very, very publicly sitting in the cuck chair for the last few weeks, if not a month. On the smoke side, Ohio State, like you slayed the dragon. Again, this was the big open spot on your bingo card, beating Michigan for the first time since 2019. You did it. You did so emphatically. Now you can move on. This game is somewhat consequential for them, of course, on Saturday coming up. But you ask any Ohio State fan, beating Michigan is the end goal always, and they finally got to do that again. Duke, they're doing the smoke because they remind me of the meme from The Boys where like something crazy happens and the guy's just sort of looking around and he's like, okay, sure. Apparently this worked out in my favor because they did not have a good season, and yet they are playing in the ACC championship game. The guy that Miami fired, Manny Diaz, makes a college football playoff or an ACC championship before Mario Cristobal does. What a world we live in. And then again, Vandy, Miami, making those powerful closing statements. I think that they're flexing a little bit this week, although I don't think for Vandy that enough happened for them to sneak in. Miami, I do think, probably has punched their ticket like we've established throughout the course of this episode.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what this committee does Tuesday night. The Duke thing is just it's so annoying. Like, you think you have problems with Duke basketball? Well, I got a whole bag of issues with Duke football right now. The chance that we might have to watch them in a playoff game in the next couple of weeks. But anyways, you did mention John Summerall to Florida. I like the hire a lot. Summerall wins wherever he is. I know there's a lot of comparisons you can draw to Billy Napier, but I think John Summerall is going to be a great fit there at Florida. I do think Florida football is going to be on the upswing in the next few years. Obviously, he's not Lane, but I still think they did a pretty good job bringing him in there. A couple of the other hires, Alex Golish to Auburn. Interesting. I do think that's a pretty good move for Auburn. I'm glad that DJ Durkin did not win his whatever you want to call it, his tryout or whatever there in the Iron Bowl. And then Silverfield goes from Memphis
to Arkansas. Yep.
To Arkansas, and then somewhere out in the wilderness, Penn State is still looking and searching for a head coach. So
they might have to go to the NFL, I think, at this point, because it doesn't feel like any like the primo college options are going to be on the table for them. This feels like kind of Lane taking up so much of the oxygen, I think has removed some of our like sharper analysis on Golish or Silverfield. And Summerall, we haven't like quite put them under the microscope, so we just are kind of rubber stamping that those are good hires. The point is, we never really know. Every hire is a good hire for the most part until they prove otherwise, because there's always a reason why you do it. Like, this guy is clearly winning at whatever program he's at. He's doing something different or special. Like Golish, especially early on this year, he was immediately anointed as the best G5 coach that was going to get poached. So theoretically, that should work well for Auburn. I think Auburn stylistically, they're at their best with like a fun mobile quarterback. I think Byron Brown is unfortunately going to be out of eligibility, but like a Byron Brown Golish at Auburn could have been something special there. But I think they've got some guys.
I mean, as long as Deuce Knight sticks around, and I think that's going to be a really interesting marriage to watch this Auburn offense the next two seasons.
I think so as well. And then it looks like UCLA is going to get JMU's coach as well. That's right. Broke just before we recorded. So it's about as expected. No real like fun, crazy names in this cycle other than the Lane saga, but. I don't know if we as a society could have handled like anything more than what we just had to deal with the Lane Kiffin stuff.
Absolutely absurd, and there's probably still more chapters to be written about this saga in the coming days, because I do think that transfer portal window does open for Ole Miss for like a week here.
Okay.
So with the coaching change, so we'll see if anything trickles out of that, and like that could play into the committee too as well. It is in their criteria that if they lose a elite player or a coach or something like that they can be docked. So we'll have more thoughts on that. We'll react to the committee's Tuesday unveiling ahead of conference championship week. We'll do that on our Thursday show. We'll have picks on Thursday. I do want to quickly touch on 12-4 to close out the regular season in Week 14. John, great work. You went 7-1, picking up a lot of the slack there. 5-3 for myself. But anything looking 5 days out here at Conference Championship Saturday that you want to lock in before some lines move in the coming days?
I would take Alabama money line. I would just go ahead and do that if I were y'all. I'm not even emotional hedging. I'm just kind of going on what always happens when Georgia and Alabama play one another. And I think you've got one circled that is with the show brand.
Yeah, I mean, look at every Monday for the last 3 weeks, we have in one way or another picked a Western Michigan game. Western Michigan is in the MAC championship on Saturday. They are 2.5-point favorites against a Miami team that had to get through a whole bunch of tiebreakers to get there. We got to ride with our Broncos again. Let's go Western Michigan -2.5 in the MAC championship, indoors, Ford Field. Oh, romantic, isn't it?
What's better than that? A nice Friday in. You got the fire going. You got the MAC championship on. Delicious, wonderful. I can't wait.
All right, so there we go. Go Broncos, absolutely. So those are a couple of picks. We'll have more for you on Thursday when we do our full conference championship breakdown. For John, I'm Dan. This is College Football Tailgate. Hit that subscribe button. Unlike everything else on Cyber Monday, that won't cost you a thing if you click on that. So just hit that subscribe button, and we will talk to you guys later this week. Thank you very much for watching.